At 7:45 a.m. on September 19, 1944, Sergeant Henry R. Hartman was concealed in his M18 Hellcat tank destroyer on Hill 246, close to Arracourt, France. He observed the mist unfurling across the valley 800 yards below. As a crew commander in Charlie Company, 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion, he was attached to Patton's 4th Armored Division. The M18, weighing 37,500 pounds, was equipped with a 76mm M1A1 gun. Its maximum armor thickness was 1 inch on the turret front and merely half an inch elsewhere. Capable of speeds up to 55 miles per hour, it was the swiftest tracked vehicle in World War II. However, this speed was its only protection, as its armor offered negligible defense. At 7:50 a.m., German tanks emerged from the forest. These were Panther Panzer Vs, weighing 100,000 pounds and armed with a 75mm KWK-42 gun. Their frontal armor, 4 inches thick and sloped at 55 degrees, was designed to overpower T-34s and Shermans. A Panther could pierce an M18 from 2,000 yards away, while an M18 could barely graze a Panther's front armor, even at close range. 15 Panthers advanced towards Hartman's position. 4 M18s were defending the hill. In the ensuing 30 minutes, Hartman would obliterate 6 Panthers. His platoon would account for 15 in total, fundamentally altering the conventions of tank warfare. If you're interested in how a thinly armored tank destroyer triumphed over Germany's premier armor, please hit the like button and subscribe for more untold war narratives. Now, back to Hartman's story. The M18 Hellcat originated from a critical necessity. In 1941, German panzer divisions swept through Europe in a blitzkrieg, or lightning war. Massive tank formations, supported by air power, annihilated entire armies in a matter of weeks. Poland capitulated in 28 days, France in 46. These tactics were innovative, and their outcomes terrifying. The U.S. Army scrutinized these victories, concluding that tank destroyers were indispensable. Mobile anti-tank weapons swift enough to intercept enemy armor, potent enough to destroy it, and expendable enough for acceptable losses. Development commenced in 1941, with the Army testing various prototypes like the T-49, T-67, and T-70. Each iteration emphasized speed over protection, adhering to a simple philosophy. Mobility equals survivability. Don't get hit. This was their defense. Tank destroyers were not intended for direct engagements with other tanks. They were ambush weapons. Their strategy? Shoot and move. Hit and run. Locate enemy armor. Eliminate it. And retreat before retaliation. This doctrine demanded exceptional speed. The T-70 prototype, unveiled in 1942, was fitted with a 76mm M1 gun, identical to that found on later Sherman tank models. However, the T-70 was significantly lighter. Engineers removed superfluous armor and incorporated an innovative Torque-matic automatic transmission. They installed a 450-horsepower Continental R975C4 radial engine. The result was groundbreaking. A maximum speed of 55 miles per hour, with some crews reporting 60 miles per hour on roads. No other tracked vehicle in the war was faster. The Army designated the T-70 as the M18 gun motor carriage in March 1944, and Buick commenced production. The moniker Hellcat came from Buick's marketing department. Though unofficial and not Army approved, it endured. Crews embraced it. Hellcat resonated with danger, speed, and lethality. A perfectly fitting name. The production specifications were stark. Length 21 feet 10 inches. Width 9 feet 5 inches. Height 8 feet 5 inches. Its loaded weight was 37,557 pounds, operated by a crew of 5. Commander, gunner, loader, driver, and assistant driver. The 76mm M1A1 gun, using standard ammunition, could penetrate 3 inches of armor at 1,000 yards. With high-velocity armor-piercing, HVAP rounds, penetration increased to 5 inches. But HVAP was rare, supply never meeting demand. Most crews operated with standard ammunition. Armor protection was minimal, half an inch on the front hull, side hull, and rear hull, and a maximum of 1 inch on the front turret. The open-topped turret left crews vulnerable to artillery airbursts, grenades, and small arms fire. Rain and snow entered the fighting compartment directly. In winter, the air-cooled engine drew cooling air through the crew space, transforming the Hellcat into a mobile refrigerator. Crews endured freezing conditions, unable to seal the compartment due to the engine's air requirements. The armament was respectable. A 76mm M1A1 gun with 45 rounds of ammunition, and an M2 Browning .50 caliber machine gun mounted on the turret ring with 800 rounds of .50 caliber ammunition. The main gun offered good velocity and accuracy, but its penetration was marginal against formidable German armor like Panthers, Tigers, and King Tigers. These required either flank shots, HVAP ammunition, or sheer luck, preferably all three. The Hellcat first saw action in Italy in the spring of 1944, with mixed results. Against Panzer IVs and Stugs IIIs, the M18 performed commendably. Its speed allowed crews to outmaneuver enemy tanks, and the 76mm gun reliably penetrated side and rear armor. However, against Panthers and Tigers, crews struggled. Frontal armor was nearly impenetrable with standard ammunition. Hellcats needed to flank, which demanded suitable terrain, cover, and tactical proficiency, advantages not all crews possessed. Despite losses, the M18 maintained a positive kill-to-loss ratio of 2.4 to 1 overall, surpassing any other U.S. tank or tank destroyer. The 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion was activated in December 1941 at Camp Shelby, Mississippi. Initially equipped with towed 3-inch guns and M3 half-tracks, nothing self-propelled, their training centered on doctrine, tank destroyer tactics, ambush positions, movement techniques, communication procedures, and gunnery. The battalion trained for 2 years, encountering different equipment and evolving doctrines as the Army refined its tank destroyer deployment through trial and error. In June 1944, the 704th received M18 Hellcats. Crews underwent intensive training. The M18 differed significantly from previous equipment, being faster, more mobile, and more complex. The torquematic transmission necessitated new driving techniques. The open turret demanded new defensive protocols, and its speed required fresh tactical approaches. Crews adapted, shipping to France in August 1944. The battalion landed at Utah Beach. Its combat strength comprised 3 companies, A, B, and C, each with 12 M18 Hellcats, totaling 36, along with headquarters vehicles, a reconnaissance platoon, and maintenance sections, for an overall strength of approximately 600 men. Attached to the 12th Corps, the battalion supported Patton's Third Army, whose orders were simple: go east and go like hell. The 704th aimed to fulfill this directive. Sergeant Henry R. Hartman commanded an M18 in Charlie Company. Not much personal information is recorded about Hartman, no birth date, hometown, or pre-war occupation. Historical records focus on his actions rather than his background, a common practice for enlisted men. Officers received detailed biographies, while enlisted men were sometimes mentioned in combat reports. What is known is that Hartman was an experienced sergeant and tank destroyer commander with a seasoned crew. They had trained together for months, recognizing that crew cohesion was paramount in tank combat. The commander, gunner, loader, driver, and assistant driver functioned as a single unit. Speed and coordination won battles, Hesitation led to casualties. Hartman's crew was cohesive, swift, and disciplined. They would need every advantage. In September 1944, Patton's Third Army surged across France. Paris had been liberated on August 25th, and by early September, American forces neared the German border. Momentum was immense. German forces retreated, disorganized and demoralized. The war seemed almost over. A simple thrust to the Rhine, an advance into Germany, and victory. However, logistics faltered. Fuel was the critical issue. Patton's tanks consumed gasoline faster than supply lines could deliver it. Trucks transporting fuel from Normandy often ran out of fuel themselves. The Red Ball Express performed miracles, but even miracles had limits. By early September, Patton's tanks sputtered to a halt. Not from German resistance, but from empty fuel tanks. Hitler seized this opportunity, planning a counterattack to destroy Patton's spearheads while they were immobilized, reclaim lost territory, and stabilize the Western Front. Hitler ordered the 5th Panzer Army to attack, led by General Hasso von Manteuffel. Their objective? Destroy the American bridgehead across the Moselle River near Arracourt by mid-September 1944. Manteuffel quickly assembled his forces, 2 panzer brigades, the 111th and 113th, each with approximately 40 to 50 tanks, a mix of Panzer IVs and Panthers. The Panthers posed the true threat. The Panther V, Germany's response to the Soviet T-34, weighed 100,000 pounds, measured 29 feet 1 inch in length, and was armed with a 75mm KWK 42L70 gun, boasting a muzzle velocity of 3,068 feet per second and a penetration of 5.5 inches at 1,000 yards. Its frontal armor was 4 inches thick, sloped at 55 degrees, giving it an effective thickness of over 7 inches. Side and rear armor were 1.6 inches thick. It had a top speed of 29 miles per hour on roads and 15 miles per hour cross-country, operated by a crew of 5. The Panther was superior to the Sherman in nearly every aspect. Better gun, better armor, better optics. American tankers dreaded them. Intelligence briefings warned, avoid frontal engagements with Panthers. Sherman's 75mm guns could not penetrate Panther frontal armor except at point-blank range, and even 76mm Shermans struggled. The Panther could destroy Shermans from 2,000 yards, while Shermans needed to close to 500 yards or less, ideally for flank shots. This disparity defined tank combat in late 1944. The M18 Hellcat faced the same predicament. Its 76mm gun was identical to the 76mm Sherman gun, with the same ballistics and penetration. Standard ammunition could not reliably penetrate Panther frontal armor at typical combat ranges. Crews required HVAP ammunition or flank shots, or both. However, HVAP was scarce, with supply priority going to Shermans. Tank destroyers received limited quantities. Hartman's crew likely had few, if any, HVAP rounds, relying instead on standard ammunition and tactical expertise. On September 18, 1944, German forces began to mass near Arracourt. U.S. intelligence detected this buildup through radio intercepts, aerial reconnaissance, and prisoner interrogations. Something substantial was imminent. The 4th Armored Division prepared, establishing defensive positions, pre-registering artillery, and deploying reconnaissance patrols. The 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion dispersed its companies to critical locations. Charlie Company supported Combat Command A, and Hartman's platoon was deployed to Arracourt, awaiting the assault. September 19, 1944, 7 a.m. A dense mist enveloped the area, reducing visibility to under 100 yards. The cold, wet, and dismal weather conditions were ideal for an ambush. German forces advanced covertly through the fog. The 113th Panzer Brigade moved from the northeast toward Arracourt, with the goal of capturing the town, eliminating American armored units, and pushing forward to the Moselle River. The brigade comprised about 45 tanks, a mix of Panthers and Panzer IVs, accompanied by Panzer Grenadiers in half-tracks and artillery support, signaling a robust offensive. At 7:45 a.m., Colonel Bruce Clark, commanding Combat Command A, received intelligence of enemy movement. German armor was approaching Arracourt-la-Petite. Clark directed Captain William Dwight to deploy a platoon of tank destroyers to Hill 246, establishing a defensive line to intercept the enemy armor. Dwight quickly engaged First Lieutenant Edwin T. Leiper, who commanded the 3rd Platoon of Charlie Company, 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion. Leiper's platoon, consisting of 4 M18 Hellcats, including Hartman's vehicle, swiftly headed to Hill 246. Located 800 yards from Arracourt, the hill offered commanding views and excellent firing positions for the approach, despite its exposed and perilous nature. Leiper strategically positioned his 4 Hellcats along the crest, using hull-down positions where only their turrets were visible. Their engines idled, guns loaded, as they awaited their adversaries. By 7:50 a.m., movement was detected in the valley below. The fog still obscured fine details, but the distinct outlines of German tanks emerged, advancing toward the hill. From a distance of approximately 800 yards enclosing, Leiper identified them as Panthers. He counted at least 15, moving in a column. A poor tactical formation, though the limited visibility due to the fog meant the German commanders were unaware of the Hellcats' presence and were effectively advancing blind. Sergeant Stacy, leading the 1st Hellcat in Leiper's platoon, spotted the initial German tank at 700 yards. His gunner fired a single round, achieving a direct hit that brought the Panther to a halt, spewing smoke and flames. The crew bailed out. The shot had pierced the side armor, a testament to either luck or exceptional skill, likely both. Stacy's gunner promptly engaged a second target, scoring another hit and disabling another Panther. Within a minute, 2 kills were registered, executing a flawless ambush. However, the Germans retaliated. The 3rd Panther in the column identified Stacy's position from the muzzle flash and smoke, returning fire. A 75mm armor-piercing round, traveling less than a second over 700 yards, struck Stacy's Hellcat, penetrating its gun shield. Shrapnel ricocheted inside the turret, wounding the crew. Although damaged, the Hellcat remained mobile, allowing Stacy to reverse behind the ridge, extracting himself from the immediate engagement. Both sides had taken their first hits. Sergeant Ferraro, commanding the 2nd Hellcat, advanced to assist Stacy's damaged vehicle. As Ferraro ascended the ridge, a German tank fired, and the round pierced his gun shield, injuring 2 crewmen, Corporal Valentine Folk and Private First Class Henry Godwin. Ferraro immediately retreated. With 2 Hellcats out of commission and 2 remaining, facing 15 advancing Panthers, the odds were dire. Leiper repositioned his surviving Hellcats into defensive hull-down positions, awaiting the enemy without unnecessary exposure. Sergeant Edwin McGurk commanded 1 Hellcat and Hartman the other. 2 M18s against 15 Panthers, which were steadily closing in. Hartman peered through his periscope as the fog began to dissipate, improving visibility. He observed Panthers advancing in a looser formation, their range decreasing from 800 to 700, then 600 yards. They were searching for targets, their turrets traversing, scanning for American positions. Hartman maintained his composure, waiting for them to close to a range that would ensure better accuracy and a higher probability of penetration at 500 yards. He issued the command. "Gunner, tank, 500 yards, front!" His gunner acquired a moving Panther, presenting its vulnerable side armor. This was the opportune shot. With only 1.6 inches of side armor, even standard 76mm ammunition could penetrate it. "Fire!" Hartman commanded. The 76mm gun roared, its recoil rocking the Hellcat. The round struck the Panther's side, penetrating it. The Panther jolted to a stop, smoke billowing from its engine compartment, and its crew quickly evacuated. "Kill confirmed!" Hartman then ordered. "Load AP! Traverse right. Tank, 450 yards." The loader swiftly inserted another armor-piercing round. The gunner traversed right, spotting another Panther, also exposed. Without waiting for a command, demonstrating initiative, the gunner fired, hitting and setting ablaze another Panther. 2 kills within 30 seconds. The German formation descended into confusion. Panthers were burning, but the source of the fire remained elusive due to the persistent fog. Some Panthers fired blindly towards Hill 246, with rounds impacting near Hartman's position, but not scoring direct hits. Hartman's hull-down Hellcat was difficult to spot, and even harder to strike. The Germans were merely firing at muzzle flashes, hoping for a lucky shot. Hartman, however, wasted no time. "Target left! Tank, 600... The front quarter shot was more challenging, but Hartman's gunner was skilled. He led the target, accounted for its movement, and fired. The round struck the Panther's turret ring, a weak point, jamming its turret. The Panther stopped, its crew abandoning the vehicle. 3 kills. Meanwhile, McGurk's Hellcat also engaged, destroying 2 Panthers in rapid succession. The German formation began to disintegrate. Out of 15 Panthers, 5 were burning, and 2 were damaged. The remaining survivors initiated a retreat, pulling back from Hill 246. But their exposure during withdrawal, showcasing their even weaker rear armor, presented a new opportunity. Hartman's gunner engaged again. "Target, rear, 700 yards, stationary!" A Panther had halted, a victim of engine trouble, a common mechanical failure for Panthers due to their unreliable transmissions. Its crew struggled to restart it, but their time was up. Hartman's gunner fired, piercing the rear armor, and the Panther exploded in an ammunition detonation. Hartman's 4th kill. "Target right! Tank, 800 yards! Retreating!" Another Panther withdrew. Hartman's gunner tracked it, led the target, fired, and hit it. The 5th kill. The Panther's engine ignited, its crew evacuated, fleeing towards the tree line. Infantry fire engaged them. Some fell, others reached cover. In the ensuing chaos of combat, Hartman scanned for additional targets. 1 more Panther remained visible at 850 yards, the maximum effective range for the 76mm gun. It was a borderline shot, but Hartman decided to take it. "Target, center. Tank, 850. Slow traverse left." His gunner meticulously laid the gun, calculating range and accounting for negligible wind drift, then fired. After long seconds, the round struck, penetrating. The 6th kill. Hartman's personal tally for the engagement stood at 6 Panthers destroyed in approximately 25 minutes. McGurk's crew had accounted for additional Panthers. Leiper's platoon, despite being reduced to 2 operational Hellcats, had collectively destroyed 15 Panthers and damaged several others. The 113th Panzer Brigade's attack in this sector had utterly failed, incurring losses of 15 Panthers and approximately 100 Panzer Grenadier casualties. American losses were 2 damaged Hellcats, 4 wounded crewmen, and no fatalities, with no Hellcats destroyed. The exchange ratio was staggering, 7.5 to 1, or even higher if damaged Panthers were included. As the fog dissipated, Lipper surveyed the battlefield. Burning Panthers strewn across the valley, abandoned equipment, and utter destruction. Reinforcements arrived as Colonel Creighton Abrams, with his 37th Tank Battalion, Sherman tanks, armored infantry, and artillery forward observers secured the position. Abrams surveyed the carnage, 15 Panthers destroyed or disabled. He debriefed Lipper, learning that 4 Hellcats had destroyed 15 Panthers, with only 2 Hellcats damaged but recoverable. Astounded, Abrams filed a report commending Lipper's platoon and specifically noting Hartman's 6 kills as extraordinary marksmanship. However, the battle was not over. The 113th Panzer Brigade had attacked across multiple sectors, engaging other American units. Throughout September 19th, fierce tank battles raged around Arracourt. By nightfall, the final count was astonishing. The 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion claimed 19 Panthers destroyed, with 3 Hellcats lost, while Abrams Tank Battalion reported destroying 29 enemy tanks for the loss of 3 Shermans. Total American tank losses amounted to 6 against more than 48 German tanks, resulting in an 8-to-1 exchange ratio. Such unsustainable losses effectively destroyed the 113th Panzer Brigade. Most of its tanks were gone, and personnel casualties were severe. The brigade retreated, and the counteroffensive failed. Patton's bridgehead held, enabling the Third Army to continue its eastward advance toward Germany and eventual victory. Several factors converged to explain the decisive success of Hartman's platoon. First, the terrain of Hill 246 offered elevated observation and advantageous fields of fire. The Hellcats fought from hull-down positions, exposing only their turrets, which maximized their firepower while minimizing vulnerability, effectively compensating for their thin armor. Second, the weather, the fog, severely limited German visibility. The Panthers advanced blindly, unable to spot the Hellcats until they were already engaged, leaving no time for reaction or maneuver. The fog that hampered German observation did not impede American gunnery, because Hartman's crew had established ranges and pre-registered targets, allowing them to fire accurately despite the conditions. Third, the tactical formation of the Panthers was poor. They advanced in a column, bunched together without dispersion or overwatch, making them easy targets for a single Hellcat to engage sequentially. The Germans were unable to suppress American fire or coordinate a response, and their formation essentially invited destruction. Fourth, experience was crucial. Lipper's platoon had trained together for months, resulting in excellent crew coordination. Hartman's gunner was exceptionally skilled, achieving fast target acquisition, accurate fire, and minimal wasted rounds. The crews operated smoothly, displaying no hesitation or confusion, which clearly demonstrated the dividends of their training. Fifth, German inexperience played a significant role. The 113th Panzer Brigade, formed in August 1944, suffered from minimally trained crews, some of whom had never seen combat. Their tank commanders made poor tactical decisions, including formation and reconnaissance errors, leading them directly into the ambush and ultimately to pay a heavy price. The sixth factor was mechanical dependability. Panthers, despite their formidable power, were notoriously unreliable. They suffered from constant issues with transmissions, engines, and final drives. Several of these tanks broke down during the offensive, not from combat damage, but due to mechanical failures, rendering them vulnerable to attacks. These disabled vehicles became effortless targets. Hartman's crew capitalized on every such chance. Seventh, ammunition. Though Hartman's crew likely employed standard armor-piercing rounds rather than high-velocity armor-piercing (HVAP) ammunition, they successfully targeted the flanks and rear of enemy tanks. The side armor of Panthers was susceptible to penetration by conventional AP rounds, and their rear armor even more so. This tactical positioning offset any limitations in ammunition. Such maneuvers demanded expertise, perseverance, and discipline. The Battle of Arracourt provided crucial insights. Tank destroyers, when deployed strategically, could overcome more heavily armored adversaries. Topography, strategy, and preparation proved more significant than mere armor thickness. The M18 was not designed for a direct confrontation with Panthers, but rather for ambushes, quick destruction, and swift withdrawals before counterattacks. Hartman's platoon executed this doctrine flawlessly. The conflict at Arracourt persisted for several more days, with ongoing engagements on September 20th and 21st. Despite continuous German attacks, their losses mounted. By September 29th, Manteuffel withdrew his forces. German casualties totaled approximately 200 tanks destroyed, over 100 killed, more than 500 wounded, and over 1,000 captured. American losses, in contrast, were 25 tanks destroyed and fewer than 100 killed. The exchange ratio overwhelmingly favored the American forces. The 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion remained active throughout the conflict, with Charlie Company continuing its operations. Hartman, commanding his Hellcat, achieved additional kills in subsequent battles. The battalion earned a Presidential Unit Citation for its exceptional performance at Arracourt, a testament to its courage under fire. Hartman's 6 kills on September 19th solidified his reputation as one of the most effective tank destroyer commanders in a single engagement. Historical records do not confirm Hartman's survival post-war. No interviews, memoirs, or obituaries have been found, and he vanished from official documents after Arracourt. Whether he lived or perished remains unknown. War claimed individuals arbitrarily and indiscriminately, with heroes and cowards meeting similar fates, a fact not reflected in records. What is unequivocal is that on September 19, 1944, Hartman disproved the prevailing expert opinions. They had asserted that the M18 was ill-suited for combating Panthers, too lightly armored, insufficiently armed, and tactically unsound. They advocated for heavier weaponry, enhanced protection, and revised doctrines for tank destroyers. Hartman and his crew disregarded these assessments, bringing their thinly armored Hellcat into direct conflict with Germany's premier tanks. They destroyed 6 Panthers, emerged unscathed, and dramatically altered the course of the battle. The M18 Hellcat saw extensive service throughout the European campaign, with a final production count of 2,507 units. It accounted for 526 confirmed enemy kills, 498 in Europe, 17 in Italy, and 11 in the Pacific. Its kill-to-loss ratio of 2.44 to 1 surpassed that of any other U.S. armored vehicle, validating the tank destroyer concept. It demonstrated that speed and firepower could overcome superior armor if crews possessed adequate skills and tactics were sound. After World War II, the M18 continued its service in various conflicts, including Korea. Several nations, such as Yugoslavia, Pakistan, Taiwan, and Venezuela, acquired surplus Hellcats, some of which remained operational until the 1990s, half a century after production ceased, a testament to its exceptional design. Speed and firepower remained critical, while armor, though beneficial, was not indispensable. Contemporary military doctrine echoes the Hellcat's philosophy. Lightly armored vehicles, high mobility, precision armaments, striking rapidly and withdrawing before retaliation. The M18 spearheaded these concepts. Hartman and his crew demonstrated their effectiveness against superior adversaries and formidable odds. Skill and tactics consistently triumphed over sheer numbers. The Battle of Arracourt remains a subject of study at military academies, focusing on combined arms warfare, tank destroyer deployment, and defensive operations. This engagement illustrates how ostensibly inferior equipment can defeat superior forces when terrain, training, tactics, leadership, and morale are prioritized over technical specifications. Hartman's 6 kills epitomize this principle. His Hellcat featured 1 inch of armor, while the Panthers boasted an equivalent of 7 inches. His guns struggled to penetrate their front, yet their weapons could destroy his vehicle from any angle. Despite these disadvantages, Hartman prevailed because he understood his vehicle's strengths, exploited enemy weaknesses, and fought with intelligence rather than brute force. If this narrative convinces you that skill consistently surpasses steel, Please hit the like button. Each like signals to YouTube to share these untold stories with a wider audience. Remember to subscribe and enable notifications as we continue to preserve critical tactical lessons from history's most significant tank battles. Leave a remark below indicating which less prominent armored confrontation you believe we ought to delve into.